All right, and welcome everybody to today's game of the Flesh and Blood Competitive Team League. This is Andy Modell streaming with Quinn Wongq.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and here we have a game between Cody from the Hyperloops against Mark from the Hometown TCG Ascent team. Right now, this is the third game in this series. This is week four or week 5. This is the last week of the round robin, at least. And the series
is...
Yeah.
This is currently week 5. There are 6 teams in Division 1. And Hometown and the Hyperloops are all undefeated. So this is a big one for bragging rights.
Yeah, that's
Both
right.
Both teams will make it into the finals. But only one of them will be seed 1.
Exactly. And currently the series is tied at a 1-1. We had a win from Nate, and then Nate was on Reinar, and then I think CJ lost yesterday for the Hyperloops. I forget the names of both of their opponents. So right now it's best of 3 for the remaining 3 matches to see who ends up winning this. Though, as you mentioned, Quinn, both teams will end up in the finals.
Yes. So I think game 1 was Chain into Reinar, where Reinar won, and then the second game was Starvo into Katsu, and Starvo won.
Right.
But this one's going to prove to be very interesting, as we've got Kano, the wizard, with 30 life against Prism.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely haven't seen a lot of Kano in the highest level of competitive play. I actually, in my league game last week, played against a Kano, but I haven't been watching too many of them. It'll be interesting to see how Cody decides to take this match, especially into Prism.
Mm-hmm. How'd that match go for you? What kind of things did you take into account when playing against a Kano?
You know, I was on a Bravo star of the show, and I was just able to output so much damage they didn't have a chance.
And I think Prism's going to try to do a similar thing. Swing with Heralds, hope they don't get blown up, and try to outrace Kano.
Yeah, that's right. Normally, Kano doesn't have a lot of those 6+ power attacks that you need to pop the Heralds. So depending on how this Prism is built, there'll either be a lot of those Heralds potentially able to get through, or if they're trying a more aura-focused strategy, I don't even know, can Kano normally pop an aura with Spectra? You can't target them with the arcane damage, right?
That's correct. So does that mean you're putting your weight into Prism being in advantage here?
In general, we don't see Kano at the top tables. There are certainly some very good Kano players who are able to pull through, but Prism is a hero that we know has been doing very well. They've won Pro Quests, they've got top 8s and the highest level of competitive play. So I would say, in general, Prism would be favored in this match.
Yeah, and that's because Prism breaks a lot of the rules that many other heroes in Flesh and Blood have to deal with. Many of their attacks are, over-strengthed because they have that Phantasm detriment. And then they also have auras, which no other character really has attackable auras. So a lot of interesting things that come from Prism.
Yeah, no characters yet, at least. With the new Uprising previews, we'll certainly be getting one more Illusionist, likely with some more auras doing more exciting things. Or allies, if not auras.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then there was the spoilers today, talking about, building up ashes as some new secondary resource.
Mm-hmm. I haven't actually seen that yet, so if we get a lull in the gameplay, you can be sure to tell us and the viewers what that's going on.
All right, excellent. So I think Kano won the die roll and has probably elected to go second to maybe make use of Kano's ability.
Yeah, Kano being able to play on the opponent's turn means that going second basically just gives him a free card draw after his first set of cards gets him value.
Yep, but you do risk Prism just throwing 2 7 attacks at you. Of course, getting go again from Luminaris. But we'll see the strategy that Prism has here. Okay, just playing a single Passing Mirage and Passing Turn.
Yeah, Passing Mirage, probably one of the least useful auras in this matchup. Losing Phantasm doesn't do much if you're against an opponent that can't pop them anyway. But still, it can be used as an attack thanks to Luminaris. It is a weapon that can swing for 1.
Mm-hmm. And then it seems like a pass happened and Kano elected not to use any of his ability. So we're going straight to their turn.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a Kano pass with 4 cards at the end of his opponent's turn on the turn 0 like that. Ooh.
Well, this might be why, because we are seeing an attack come out from Kano, and it's a 6 power to boot.
Yeah.
So that means Prism has to be on their toes. Phantasm maybe not quite as unbreakable as they once thought.
Yeah, this is definitely not something that I am used to seeing in Kanos that I have faced against. But it looks like this might be more of that battle mage strategy that I've heard about. Here we have a Rifting, another 6 power attack. I really don't think the opponent was expecting Herald of Erudition popped there.
And you can see some hand movement from the Prism player, definitely caught off guard here. And just calling pass turn, again with 2 cards stuck in hand.
Yeah, this is a very exciting change up to the match. Looks like we still do have some arcane damage coming in. We have Aether Flare going in for 4 arcane thanks to Crucible of Aetherweave.
Yeah, and this is going to be especially dangerous as Prism only brought Null Rune 1 and Skullcap into this battle. And since Kano starts at 30 life, Arcanate Skullcap is turned off, meaning the next spell that Kano uses will be at +4 damage. And you can see Cody here using the Kano ability, looking at the top of the deck, hoping to grab any wizard spell to throw back at +4 arcane damage.
Yeah, a lot of players don't put in the full Nullrune suite in their classic constructed decks. Unlike the Blitz format, where you have a set number of equipment you can use, in CC, every extra equipment, potentially a Nullrune, means that's another sideboard card you're not going to use. And if you're not expecting a lot of Kano in the meta, it's usually not worth putting in a bunch of Nullrunes. Though Skullcap right now is turned on, providing that arcane barrier, Kano is able to do a lot of damage right there, bringing the Prism player down to 29.
Yeah, not bad for a turn 2, even life totals, and you can see Prism's going for a predominantly Herald-based strategy. So we'll see if Cody on Kano has the 6 power to block.
Yeah, Herald of Protection, if this one hits, provides the Spectral Shield, and it looks like that's what Prism will be getting here.
Yeah, generally I think that's one of the higher priority ones to block. Getting a Spectral Shield and having a card go into Soul is pretty impactful. It's almost as if it has one additional power. But you can see here Kano is elected to take the damage. Once again, turning off Arcanate Skullcap. And then with the rest of the resources, playing Prismatic Shield, which is going to create 3 more for a total of 4 Spectral Shield tokens.
Yeah, we talked about how the Prism player isn't using a lot of Nullrune equipment. Spectral Shields preventing damage are another way to prevent the arcane damage from going in. But here we have a traditional Scar for a Scar for 4 go again.
Yeah, this is a deceptively powerful card coming out of Kano, because Kano, of course, starts with 30 life, meaning Scar for a Scar is almost always guaranteed to be turned on, just as much as Arcanate Skullcap is guaranteed to be turned off right until the end of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this 4, of course, is threatening the Spectral Shields. Looks like the Prism player is choosing to keep all of those Spectral Shields from this attack, at least.
Yep, and then you can see, of course, Kano going for a Crucible into a Lesson in Lava. Another really powerful card. If it hits, you get to take a card. Well, it did not hit in this case because of the 4 Spectral Shields. But if it had, you could almost certainly guess a Tome of the Aether Wind to be put on top of the deck and then discarded with the Kano ability in order to be used to draw 2 cards. But not to be done this turn, and it's back over to Prism with 4 cards, 3 cards in hand, 1 in arsenal. Yeah, and another Herald of Judgment. Wow.
Erudition.
Oh, that's right.
And it looks like this one will not be popped by a 6 power attack for Phantasm, though it will be fully blocked thanks to the Arcanite Skullcap being enabled.
Yeah, I think Kano's got to be pretty happy to see those out of the way at this point, too. Only 1 left in the deck. Yeah, because if it hits, of course, it draws 2 cards, and that can be a really bear of a turn. It allows the player to kind of redraw and attack with 1 more Herald, which is honestly like 7 or 6 damage, which is indeed a big deal. Mm-hmm. All right, Life for Life being played off the Tunic counter. And just much Scar for Scar gets to go again when you have less life, so does Life for Life.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of these 4 attack go-agains, they're hitting the breakpoints. You can't just block it with 1 card from hand, and this one threatens a gain of 1 life, which against Kano is worth 25% as much as, or 25% more than against any other hero.
Yep, but you can see it just get blocked by one card, very reasonable. And then you got one shield token being destroyed. And a follow-up with Snatch. Snatch is actually really powerful in Battle Kano, because it allows you to draw a card. You don't have the action, but of course you can just use Kano's ability to try and draw a blue card and use it to make something happen.
Yeah, and we see Cody able to reduce those spectral shields down again from 4 to 0 here. So making sure that those aren't accumulating too much is one of the ways where you prevent yourself from losing instantly against Prism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a relatively light turn coming from Prism, just creating a Spectral Shield token and playing a blue aura. But it basically means Kano has a 5-card hand, and Kano gets pretty scary the more cards they have in hand.
Yeah, every blue card basically allowing you to activate Kano's ability, potentially get another card there. And in this match, having all of these non-arcane damage-based cards, it's very difficult to predict what will be coming at you.
All right, and then we've got Rifting, which is a 2-for-6 card that says the next non-attack action can be played as an instant if it hits. And right now it looks like the Prism player doesn't want to block. Maybe they've got a bunch of 2-block cards, and if it hits, basically the whole Wizards deck is turned on.
Yeah, it's very interesting. These are cards that I really haven't seen in many competitive play builds. I've seen someone use Rifting as they were building some commoner format decks, but I don't think I've ever seen this one in Classic Constructed or in Blitz.
Mm-hmm. And you can see some unfamiliarity with it from the Prism player as well as they hover over the card and try to really get a sense of how bad it will be if they let Rifting hit. And I think they're going for a 2-card block from hand, which I think the Kano player's pretty happy to see. Oh, maybe it's a Spectral Shield?
Yeah, it looks like we have the defense reaction Soul Shield.
Why is that still in the deck? That's a hard read, I suppose.
Yeah, very interesting to keep that sided in against Kano. It could have been an oversight. When I was playing up against Kano, I actually was using I forgot to side out my defense reactions in my Starvo build. So it's one of those things where when you're caught off guard by the hero you're not expecting to play, sometimes you can just make some mistakes.
Yeah, it also is a yellow, which is pretty important for the Prism player. And it looks like they're getting a little ahead of themselves before the Shimmers of Silver. Say that 3 times fast. Shimmers of Silver goes through.
Yeah, Shimmers of Silver. It is difficult to say. Giving itself a +1/+1 counter there, being the only aura out.
Yeah, it looks like Cody's either in the think tank or they're resolving something, but probably Kano's just going to take 2 damage here. And you can see life totals pretty even, 25 to 17, but he does elect to block 2.
Yeah, blocking with a Cadaverous Contraband, another one of those 6-power attacks. So we'll see if that's going to end up being used. No, it looks like the Prism player won't be playing any more Heralds this turn. But yeah. Spectral Shield still taking that Soul Shield out of Soul.
Mm-hmm. Looks like the Prism player tipped their hand a little bit and kind of gave the okay for a 1-card block there, especially if Kano didn't have the resources to fully make use of it.
Yeah, here we have another Lesson in Lava, that Kano specialization. It's very interesting seeing which heroes have the ability to tutor and which ones don't. Lately, we had Viserai was very powerful with tutoring based on the Become the Arknight. You have the tutor on Dorinthia with her specialization, with Bravo on his, and then now we're seeing Lesson in Lava coming from Kano. Potentially getting, looks like anything that has up to 3 resource cost.
Yep, that's basically going to be everything in Wizard. You might see a Tome of Aetherwind here to draw 2 additional cards. We might see a Stir the Aetherwind if Cody has another really good choice here, Zap, which is just a 0 for 3, which means this blue in hand plus yellow in hand with the 1 extra resource is just 3 free arcane damage, which at this point, of course, is unblockable as Arcanate Skullcap is turned off. I suppose 1 damage could go through, but that's rarely gonna take a card.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting how it was a yellow, and then the 1 pitch sitting over there, getting zapped for free, just made sense with the resources that he had. But normally you would expect to see a lot of blue cards in the Kano deck, though in the Battle Mage deck like this with all of those red attack action cards, I'm not sure what that distribution looks like.
I think you only go down to a third blues or something along those lines. Um, Basically, if you have a lot of attack actions, you want to use the Kano ability less often, which means, yeah, you don't need quite as many wizard attacks and blues in the deck.
Yeah, here it looks like we saw Command and Conquer popping Phantasm, though I'm not sure why Cody just took damage there.
That was a Shimmers of Silver attack following the Herald of Protection.
Okay, yeah, so then this, while it is popped, is just sitting here. Anyway.
Yeah. Technically an unclean board state,
Yeah,
getting cleaned up now. Great.
Yeah, now we have a Command and Conquer. Such a powerful attack. Though I don't think that the Kano player will be using any defense reactions right now, specifically. The interesting thing about Kano decks, when they're more of this battle mage focus and they're not all full of non-attack actions, is that it makes it more difficult to pull off Kano's ability, which, you spend 3 resources just to hope for a non-attack action on the top. If you have lots of defense reactions, lots of attack actions, it makes that ability less and less likely to be effective. So chances are the cards in Cody's hands are all cards that can block the Command and Conquer, but he's got away 6 damage, 13 life, 1 card in Arsenal at risk.
Another thing he might be considering here is whether or not to use Storm Striders. Of course, Storm Striders, for 1 resource, allows you to play a wizard non-attack action as though it were an instant. You're typically waiting for this as the kill shot, but if you can use this to get your card out of Arsenal, Command and Conquer loses a lot of its sting, so you can kind of gain a little bit extra value. Alternatively, Cody could just be happy 2-card blocking, which looks like he's happy with.
Yep, Zap and a Command and Conquer showing up over there. So with the card in hand and the card in Arsenal, we'll see what Cody's able to do. He does have that resource from Tunic, able to potentially pay for something. And he will be activating the Kano ability there.
Yeah, this is a bit of a desperation play. It's not something you want to be doing, but if you can get a Zap off the top, hey, it's worth it.
Yeah, turning that Glaze the Ages, which is a card that you usually like to see off the top there. Being able to pitch it and turn it into a Zap seems like pretty good value to me.
Yeah, 1-card hand, that's pretty good. But, of course, Prism, 5-card hand. This can be especially dangerous if Cody is caught without a 6-power card in their hand, which means you can get 2, maybe even 3 Heralds coming at you. And that's a good start. Wartune Herald, excuse me.
Yeah, Wartune Herald, this is a 6 for 1 because it's yellow, and it still leaves that resource up for Mark in case he needs to activate Phantasmal Footsteps to give himself the action point if Cody pops it.
And if there's a second Wartune Herald in hand, then we could easily be seeing a 3 Herald turn. Which is upwards of 18 damage, which is really hard for any deck to face.
Yeah, the 1-cost Heralds in Prism are just such good value. Wartune Herald can, on red, be a 1 for 7, Miraging Metamorph, another 1 for 7. And if you have something like a Fractal Replication on the same turn as one of those, it's free for another 7.
And you can see Shimmers of Silver starting to really gain a lot of value, this time coming in for 4, with basically no cost. So, Kano's back is against the wall here a little bit. Especially as a Genesis comes through. Now, honestly, not too bad for Kano. If that was another Herald, that could be a problem, but Genesis is going to take a little while to get online. But it does do 1 damage, of course, as it gets turned on by Luminars.
Yeah, so Cody down to 8, Mark up at 16 life, twice as much as Cody has. But as we know with Kano, if he can deal some damage this turn and then potentially go off on the Prism player's turn before any of that damage gets back to him, he's in that potential lethal range.
Yeah, that's the power of Kano after all is. Kano basically gets an extra turn from the Storm Striders, which is why he starts with 30 life instead of 40.
Yeah, Cody coming in right now with a Snatch. This is just the 0 for 4, but he's basically baiting Mark, saying, you gotta give me a card out of your hand or else I'm gonna be able to hit you for even harder at the instant speed.
And it's not just 1 card, it's 2 cards, of course. I guess, Skullcap is turned off. We could see the Tunic getting thrown in here. Life totals are low enough, and it's only on 1 resource counter.
Yeah, I think the Tunic block right now makes a lot of sense. We did just see, I think, another yellow Wartune Herald signaled, though not committed to be blocked with. So the Prism player definitely has a lot. Ooh, and there's a Herald of Erudition. He's definitely got a lot of stuff that he can do during his next turn.
Yeah, and there's the Tunic block. Another thing we could have seen here is pitching a blue or any color card, basically, to turn on Phantasmal Footsteps and one card from hand, and then using any additional resources floating to absorb some of this arcane damage from the follow-up.
Yeah, I was expecting the Prism player to want to keep all the cards in hand as possible, instead of using those Phantasmal Footsteps, and it looks like Cody was only able to get in 2 arcane damage at the cost of his Tunic resource there after KOing off the top, so not an optimal turn, especially when you're this low in life.
Yep, so the Genesis trigger does happen. There's a window, I believe, is it at the start of the turn? Yeah, at the start of the turn, so never mind. It is up to the Prism player to make the first move here. Looks like they're going to be swinging in for 2 total on the Genesis. This is pretty much game time for Kano. I don't think there's much more room to let these auras build up before cracking the Storm Striders and going for hopefully a Stir Fork endgame.
Yeah, right now there's 4, 5, 6, 7 damage in just auras on the board that can be presented. It's pretty clear that we know Mark has a yellow Herald of Erudition in his hand. He'll probably get that Genesis out of Soul, turn it into a Spectral Shield. That'll make 8 damage worth of auras alone, and have that yellow in the pitch zone to give them all go again. That's on top of the additional Herald that he might have in his hand for damage, or whatever else he wants to put forward into Cody.
That's right. Cody really needs this game to end quickly, or else the value is just going to run away. But that's going to be hard. The Prism player has been pretty good at being defensive here, and making sure not a lot of damage slips through over the past 2 turns. And you generally want to see 10 health or so before Kano tries to do their ultimate final turn.
Yeah, we see instead of activating Prism's ability, he played a Merciful Retribution there. So that's going to be another aura. This one, unlike the Spectral Shield, is actually going to hit Cody back when that one Spectral Shield pops, though that it doesn't have any block in it. It's just that damage back. So an interesting decision made, though it is something persistent that's not going to go away.
Yep, fortunately, Kano does have access to Arcane Barrier, so if it is the kill turn, some blues can be used to absorb some of that damage.
Yeah, and he is choosing to block right now that Shimmers of Silver, so looking like he's going to be able to have one more draw up after his next turn, unless we have another surprise large Herald coming in.
That's right, and we really are looking for any amount of chip damage to happen on Kano's turn before they're comfortable firing off one of the combo pieces in Arsenal.
So with 3 cards in hand and 1 card in Arsenal, this is likely Kano's last turn on his side, though he will still be able to use his Storm Striders and Kano's ability to gain instant speed stuff on Mark's next turn.
I'm expecting a Life for a Life or a Scar for a Scar into just a little bit of arcane damage, hoping to sneak in hopefully 4 damage, I think is what Kano wants to see here. And if they're not able to accomplish that, it's probably going to be a Prism game.
Yeah, let's see. We have... Oh, wow. This is a fun one. So Scour, new in Everfest, lets you destroy any number of auras if... it destroys X target auras or auras with cost of 0. So it's not going to be able to get rid of the yellow cost ones, but it can target Shimmers of Silver and the Spectral Shield. And then arcane damage is going to hit Prism equal to the number of auras destroyed. I do believe that Merciful Retribution is going to trigger on both of those. That's why Cody sacrificed his Tunic to keep his life total so high.
One of that Shimmers of Silver should, I think, have gone to the Soul. Yes. It is a non-token light card. Nope, it's not a light card, so it doesn't go to Soul.
Okay.
And then Snapback coming in for 3 arcane. Yeah, and okay. The dream is alive for Kano. The Prism player has gone down to 10 health, but a little bit deceptive as Genesis is still online, which means they're going basically back up to 11 as a new Spectral Shield is added to the board.
Yeah, that's a start of the turn ability. You don't have any priority until the action phase begins, so Cody won't be able to respond to that. It's basically just a free Spectral Shield if Mark is going to end up putting into Soul that card.
Yeah, it's kind of a deceptive wording, or not deceptive, tricky wording, where something like Seismic Surge tokens break at the start of the action phase as opposed to the start of the turn, which means you can respond to that. This, however, is again start of the turn.
Yeah,
now it's the Prism players. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is one of those things that catches a lot of Magic the Gathering players off guard. In Magic, you do a lot of stuff during your upkeep before the draw step, and people are usually ready to do instants at the instant in response to potentially anything. Over here in Flesh and Blood, it really has to happen during the bounds of that action phase.
That's right. Does seem to be some discussion or some thinking. Maybe it's on Prism's side here. But yeah, this is likely the last turn of the game. There's a chance... no, I can't really see it not being the last turn of the game. Yep.
Yeah, Mark over here has 2 auras on the board. Merciful Retribution. If any Spectral Shields are created and destroyed, they'll deal an arcane damage back. So we'll see what happens there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Manton just reading over Genesis one more time, making sure they can't respond quite yet.
Yeah, Josh in the YouTube comments is asking if Kano should be at 1 damage. I believe he was at 5 at the beginning of his turn and then took 2 damage from the 2 auras destroyed, bringing him down to 3. So that's how he's at the current life total.
Okay, and another Genesis goes into Soul off the Genesis trigger, creating a Spectral Shield token. That plus the 2 cards in Soul right now basically put Prism, I guess, at an effective 10 plus 2, 12 health. Ooh, okay. So we see Kano has elected to use all of their abilities in one final hurrah. And with Stormstriders, they get an extra action on the opponent's turn. Metacarpus Node and Crucible of Aetherweave are each going to add 1 additional damage to the damage dealt here. Kano player is going to respond by Prism player is going to respond by using the Prism power to create 1 more Spectral Shield, and then an additional pitch here to block 1 more damage. So that means this 5 power Arcane Flare is only going to be doing 2 arcane damage.
Yeah, it's interesting that the Prism ability is only once per turn, because if he could have gotten a second Spectral Shield there, then 3 Spectral Shields popping would have, with Merciful Retribution, been lethal. I think this technically shouldn't be on the board anymore. I'm not sure if they accounted for that.
What? Why is the card drawn? Oh, from the Genesis trigger. And then that's going to be the end of Kano.
Yep, it looks like wasn't able to deal quite enough damage there. So this game will be going to Mark Johnson over on the Hometown TCG Ascent team. That brings the current record for this week up to 2 wins for Hometown TCG Ascent to 1 team Hyperloops. We're going to get another game for this evening with Joe on the Hyperloops, and then I believe the last game is tomorrow. Yeah, so a very interesting matchup. I'm not sure if there were many options that Cody had over here that he could have pulled through, but in general, I think this was a pretty fun one.
Mm-hmm. Pretty close game. 1 life on Prism, 0 life on Kano. Both players played well, as befits teams that are both undefeated.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for watching. This is Andy Modell and Quinn Wonku with the Hyperloops, and we hope to see you again during our next stream. Have a good day, everyone.